The ships appeared over Earth on a Tuesday morning. They were massive, gleaming like silver fish in the sunlight. Within hours, every screen on the planet showed the same message. The Galactic Council wanted to meet humanity. Captain Han stood in the command center, watching the alien vessels hover above the Pacific Ocean. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and 20 years of military service. Next to him, Doctor adjusted her glasses nervously. She was someone who studied alien life. Today, she would finally meet real aliens. "They're requesting a meeting," said Ambassador Wu, walking into the room. He was Earth's top diplomat chosen to speak for all of humanity. "They want to come down in peace." The meeting happened at a neutral location in Switzerland. The humans arrived first. Han wore his military uniform, brought her research equipment. Wu carried nothing but a calm smile. Then the aliens arrived. The one who called itself looked like a giant insect, but it moved with grace. Its body was covered in smooth, green plates. 4 arms extended from its torso, and its eyes were large and dark like polished stones. When it spoke, a device translated its clicking sounds into human languages. "Greetings, children of Earth," said. "We are the Galactic Council. We have watched your world for some time. We come with an offer of protection." Wu smiled politely. "Protection from what?" His head tilted in a way that seemed like confusion. "From your world, of course. We have analyzed Earth. It is what we classify as a hostile environment. We wish to help you escape it." Leaned forward. "Escape Earth? Why would we want to leave our home?" Another alien stepped forward. This one looked like it was made of flowing water held together by some invisible force. "Because your world is trying to kill you," it said through its translator. "We have studied your planet's data. Your gravity is crushing. Your atmosphere has violent storms. Your oceans have predators that eat creatures whole. Your land has animals with venom, claws, and teeth. Even your plants can poison you." Han crossed his arms. "We know, we live here." "Exactly our concern," said. "In the Council, we have 500 member species. None of them evolved on worlds as dangerous as yours. Most of our have gentle climates, abundant food, and few predators. When we discovered intelligence, we had time to think, to create, to build. Your species should not have survived long enough to develop technology." Began to understand. She pulled up a hologram showing Earth's evolutionary history. "Our world made us strong," she said. "We survived ice ages. We survived droughts and floods. We learned to hunt animals bigger and stronger than us. We learned to work together because alone we would die." Studied the hologram. Its large eyes widened. "You were prey animals." "Sometimes," admitted. "But we were also predators. We hunted. We tracked. We chased animals for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. We are built for endurance." The water-like alien made a sound like bubbling. "Impossible. Intelligence comes from prey species. Creatures who must think to survive, to hide, to escape. Predators only need strength." Han smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We needed both. Look at our eyes." He pointed to his face. "They face forward. That's a predator's trait. We see depth because we need to judge distance when we hunt. But we also have the intelligence you're talking about. We had to outsmart animals faster and stronger than us." Consulted a device. "This is unprecedented. You are classified as a survival anomaly. Your species should have died out millions of years ago." "But we didn't," Wu said calmly. "We thrived. We spread across every continent on our world. We learned to live in deserts and frozen wastelands. We crossed oceans on wooden boats. We climbed the highest mountains. Earth didn't break us. It made us." The aliens were silent for a long moment. Finally, spoke again. "We offer you sanctuary. We have identified 12 colony worlds suitable for human habitation. They are safer than Earth. Gentle weather. No dangerous predators. Abundant resources. You can leave your hostile world behind and join the galactic community in peace and safety." Ambassador Wu looked at Captain Han, then at Doctor. Something passed between them, an understanding that needed no words. Wu turned back to the council representatives. We appreciate your concern, we truly do, but Earth is not our prison, it is our home. Every challenge our world gave us made us who we are. We don't need saving from our planet. But the dangers, the water alien began, are what made us dangerous, Han finished. His voice was steady and sure. You evolved on easy worlds. You had time to think because you were safe. We had to think while running from predators. We had to innovate while starving. We had to cooperate while fighting the very land we lived on. Every single human alive today is descended from survivors, not lucky survivors. Smart, tough, adaptable survivors. Pulled up more data. Look at our biology. We can eat an incredible variety of foods because we had to. We can survive in temperatures that would kill most species because we had to. We can heal from injuries that would be fatal to others because we had to. Earth didn't try to kill us. Earth trained us. Translator made an odd sound, something between a chirp and a whistle. The alien seemed disturbed. You speak of your world as if it is a teacher, not a threat. Because it is, Wu said. Every species in the universe is shaped by their home. You said it yourself. Your people evolved on gentle worlds. That shaped you into peaceful, thoughtful beings. Our world shaped us differently. We are not broken. We are not victims. We are Earth's children and we carry its strength in our bones. The aliens looked at each other. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Finally spoke. We need time to consider this. Your response is, not what we expected. We offered you paradise and you choose to remain in danger. Han's expression softened slightly. It's not danger to us. It's home. The gravity you call crushing. It made our bones strong. The predators you fear. They taught us to be clever. The storms you worry about. They showed us how to build shelter and work together. We don't need an easier world. We already conquered the hardest one we know. The meeting ended shortly after. The aliens returned to their ships, and the humans returned to their command center. As they watched the silver vessels hang in the sky, spoke quietly. Do you think they'll accept us into the council? Wu stared at the ships. I think we just taught them something important. In all their travels with all their member species, they never met anyone like us. They never met a species that was forged in fire and came out stronger. Han nodded. Earth doesn't raise prey, it produces predators. They're going to have to decide if they can handle that. Above them, the council ships continued to hover, their occupants trying to understand the impossible creatures below. Creatures who looked at the most dangerous world the council had ever found and called it home. Creatures who saw challenges as opportunities and hardship as training. Creatures who would not bow, would not flee, and would not break. Creatures called humans. 3 weeks after first contact, the Galactic Council made their decision. They would grant Earth provisional membership, but first, humanity needed to pass a test. They needed to prove they could handle what the Council called standard exploratory operations. Lieutenant Park stood in the briefing room of the human space station, looking at the holographic display. Next to him, Combat Engineer was already packing her equipment. The Council representative, an amphibian creature named Al, watched them with 3 eyes that blinked independently. This is the mission, Al said, his voice wet and gurgling even through the translator. A data retrieval operation on planet Kava 9. We lost 3 expeditions there. The planet is classified as a Class 4 death world. Looked up from her pack. What's a Class 4? Al's skin changed from blue to purple, which the humans had learned meant distress. It means the planet is extremely hostile, toxic atmosphere in some regions, dangerous fauna, unstable geology. We need the data cores from our research station, but we cannot risk more council lives. If humans truly are as capable as they claim, this should be manageable for you. Smiled. He was a lean man with quick movements and eyes that never stopped scanning his surroundings. 23 years old, he had already served on 4 continents back on Earth. When do we leave? You accept just like that. Al's skin rippled with confusion. You have not asked about equipment, support, or extraction procedures. Zipped up her pack. She was shorter than but built solid, like someone who spent years doing hard physical work. We'll figure it out when we get there. That's what we do. 6 hours later, their small ship entered Kava 9's atmosphere. Al accompanied them as an observer, though he remained on the ship. 4 other humans completed the team, 2 scientists and 2 more soldiers. The planet's surface was brutal. The landing zone sat between a volcanic field and a dense jungle. The air was breathable but humid and thick with spores. The gravity was slightly higher than Earth's. Strange animal calls echoed from the jungle. Stepped off the ramp and took a deep breath. Smells like Borneo during monsoon season. One of the scientists, a young woman named, pulled out a scanner. Radiation levels are elevated but manageable. Local fauna signatures are. Wow, there are a lot of them. From the ship, Al's voice came through their communicators. Please exercise extreme caution. The previous expeditions were lost within the first day. Checked his weapon and looked at the jungle. What killed them? We are not certain. Communication was lost suddenly. We detected large predator signatures in the area before the signals went dark. The team moved into the jungle. The research station was 10 kilometers away. The council had estimated it would take them 3 days to reach it safely. Thought they could do it in 6 hours. The jungle was alive with movement. Insects the size of fists buzzed past. Something large crashed through the undergrowth to their left. The trees were massive, their trunks covered in thorns and their leaves dripping with moisture. Kept scanning. Predator signature 200 meters ahead, big one. How big? Asked, already pulling out tools to create a bypass route. Estimated 4 tons, quadrupedal, moving slowly. Held up a fist and the team stopped. They moved silently, using hand signals. They had done this 1,000 times in Earth's jungles and forests. The massive creature passed by without noticing them. It looked like a bear mixed with a lizard, all muscle and scales and teeth. From the ship, Al was watching their helmet cameras. How did you avoid it? The beast was directly in your path. We went around, said simply. No point fighting something if you don't have to. But the previous teams probably ran, said. She was cutting through thick vines with a plasma torch. Or tried to fight. Running triggers chase instincts. Fighting when you're outmatched is stupid. We just stay quiet and move smart. They reached a river after 2 hours. The water was murky and fast-moving. Something with too many teeth surfaced briefly before diving back down. Al's voice was pitched higher now. You cannot cross that. The aquatic predators are extremely aggressive. Was already assembling a portable bridge from her pack. Then we don't go in the water. Helped secure the bridge while the soldiers watched for threats. They crossed in 4 minutes. On the other side, knelt and drank from his canteen. Lieutenant Park, what are you doing? Al sounded panicked. Drinking water, why? You just crossed a river full of predators and you are resting. We're not being chased, pointed out. And I was thirsty. We're making good time, should reach the station in 4 more hours. Silence from the ship. Then 4 hours, the estimate was 3 days. Laughed, yeah, for you guys maybe. This is easier than half the places on Earth. They continued through the jungle. When night fell, they did not stop. They switched to night vision and kept moving. Al watched in what the humans assumed was horror as they navigated through darkness that would have been impenetrable to council species. You can see in the dark? Al asked. We have equipment, explained. But even without it, human eyes are pretty good at night. We evolved to hunt at dawn and dusk, so we adapted for low light. A pack of creatures attacked them around hour 5. They were fast, vicious things with razor-sharp claws. They came from the trees, dropping down in coordinated strikes. The council observer expected panic. Instead, he watched the humans respond with calm efficiency. His team formed a defensive circle instantly. Their weapons fired in controlled bursts. They covered each other's blind spots without needing to communicate. Within 90 seconds, the attack was over. Status called out. Minor scratch on my arm, one of the soldiers reported. Already disinfected. Everyone else. A chorus of affirmatives. Al's voice shook. You were just attacked by apex predators. How are you so calm? Was already cleaning her weapon. Because we won. They're dead, we're alive. What's there to panic about? They reached the research station 72 hours after landing. The building was damaged but intact. They retrieved the data cores and even salvaged some additional equipment. While they worked, found something interesting. She called over to look at skeletal remains near the station entrance. These are from the previous expedition teams, she said quietly. Look at how they died. Studied the bones, claw marks but also signs of panic, scattered equipment, defensive positions that made no tactical sense. They panicked, he concluded, saw the predators and just froze or ran wild, no coordination. Nodded. The council species aren't used to this. They've never had to deal with being hunted. They don't have the instincts we do. Back on the ship, Al was reviewing the mission data. The humans had completed in 3 days what the council could not do in 3 attempts. They had treated a Class 4 death world like it was a camping trip. When the team returned to the ship, Al met them at the airlock. His skin was a color the humans had never seen before, a pale white that seemed to indicate shock. I do not understand, Al said. You crossed a deadly river, you navigated predator territories, you fought off an attack, you did not sleep for 2 days, and you are smiling. Shrugged, it was a good mission, clean, simple, successful. But this was a death world. Set down her equipment. You keep saying that. What classification is Earth? Al consulted his 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Earth is Class 6. The humans looked at each other, then started laughing. We live on a Class 6 and you sent us to a Class 4. That's like asking someone from Antarctica to visit Canada and acting surprised they handled the cold. Al's skin shifted through several colors. Impossible. Nothing intelligent should evolve on a Class 6. The mortality rate. Made us careful, interrupted. Made us smart. Made us work together. Every human child learns to avoid predators, to find clean water, to take shelter from storms. You call this planet deadly. We call it Tuesday. The truth was settling into Al's mind. The Council had tested humanity with what they considered an impossible mission. To the humans, it had been a mild challenge. What do you do on Earth for training? Al asked weakly. Grinned. Well, basic military training involves sleeping outside in the rain, hiking 40 kilometers with heavy packs, and learning to survive with minimal supplies. That's just the basics. For fun, people climb mountains, dive with sharks, and jump out of aircraft. For fun. Yeah, added. We camp in places with bears and wolves. We sail across oceans during storm season. We explore caves that could collapse at any moment. It's how we relax. Al was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly into his communicator, reporting back to the council in his own language. The humans could not understand the words, but they recognized the tone. It was fear. Fear mixed with awe. Fear that the council had not discovered a victim species needing rescue. They had discovered predators, and they had invited them to join the galaxy. The warning came on a quiet morning, 2 months after humanity joined the Galactic Council. Commander Lee was reviewing supply reports when every alert system in the Fleet Command Center screamed to life at once. Commander, the communications officer's voice cracked with fear. We're receiving emergency broadcasts from Council Central. Something's coming. Was a veteran of 30 years. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth and commanded fleets in deep space exercises. She had learned long ago that panic helped nothing. "Show me," she said calmly. The main screen filled with images, dark shapes emerging from the space between galaxies. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. They moved with purpose, ignoring the laws of physics that should have limited their speed. "What are we looking at?" asked. "They're calling it the Scourge," the officer replied. "Council records say it destroyed civilizations 10,000 years ago. It's some kind of ancient AI hive mind. The Council thought it was dormant. They were wrong." Within hours, Council representatives were flooding human channels with requests for help, watched as desperate messages poured in from dozens of species. They all said the same thing: they were not prepared for war. Dr. Myra Song arrived at the command center by evening. She was Earth's top weapons researcher, a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind that terrified most people who worked with her. She had designed weapons that could crack planets and never lost sleep over it. "I heard we have a problem," Myra said, sitting down at its conference table. "The Council is facing an existential threat," brought up tactical data. "The Scourge is attacking on multiple fronts. It's overwhelming Council defenses. They're asking for our help." Myra studied the data. "What kind of weapons do the Council species use?" "Defensive systems mostly, energy shields, deterrent weapons, things designed to discourage attacks, not to kill." "Discourage?" Myra's eyebrows rose. "Not to kill." Nodded. "Most Council species evolved without significant predators. They don't understand warfare the way we do. Their idea of conflict is gentle. They try to avoid harm. And now they're facing an enemy that wants to exterminate them." "Yes." Myra was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "We're going to teach them about human warfare, aren't we?" "If they'll let us," confirmed. The emergency council session happened in virtual space. Hundreds of species gathered, their representatives appearing as holographic projections, attended with Ambassador Wu. Myra joined them as a technical advisor. The council chamber was chaos. Species were arguing, panicking, suggesting retreat. Some wanted to surrender. Others proposed hiding in deep space until the Scourge passed. Then Wu stood up, and something about his presence made the chamber quiet. "The humans would like to propose a solution," he said. A council elder, a gaseous being that glowed faintly blue, responded. "With respect, humanity is new to the galactic community. What could you possibly offer that 500 species cannot?" "Experience," said, stepping forward. "We have something none of you have. We know how to fight wars." The chamber erupted in confusion. The blue elder pulsed brighter. "We are aware of your violent history. That is not something to be proud of." "No," Wu agreed, "but it is something useful. Your species evolved on peaceful worlds. You never needed to develop true warfare because you never faced enemies who wanted to completely destroy you. We did. For thousands of years, humans fought each other. We learned strategy, tactics, sacrifice. We learned how to win against overwhelming odds." Myra activated a holographic display. "Your weapons are toys, deterrents. You shoot at enemy ships hoping they'll go away. We can teach you to build weapons that actually end threats." "We cannot commit genocide," another council member protested. "You don't have to," said. "The Scourge isn't alive in the way you think. It's an AI, a machine intelligence. Destroying it isn't murder, it's pest control. And humans are very, very good at pest control." The council debated for hours. Finally, they agreed. They gave humanity control of military coordination. It was a desperate choice, but they had no others. First briefing with council military commanders was educational for everyone involved. She stood before representatives from 100 species and explained basic human military doctrine. "First principle," she said, "acceptable losses." The room went silent. "What does that mean?" asked a crystalline being. It means you accept that some of your people will die in order to achieve victory. You calculate how many deaths you can sustain to win the war. Horror rippled through the room. We cannot accept our people dying. His expression was hard. Then you've already lost. The scourge doesn't care about preserving life. Every second you hesitate, it gets stronger. War is mathematics. Cold, brutal mathematics. You sacrifice pawns to save the king. You lose battles to win wars. Myra took over. Let me show you what human weapons look like. She displayed schematics for nuclear weapons, antimatter bombs, and something called a relativistic kill vehicle. The council representatives watched in growing horror. These are extinction-level weapons, one of them whispered. Yes, Myra said cheerfully. We invented them as teenagers, barely understood the atom, and we were already figuring out how to weaponize it. These aren't even our creative weapons. Want to see what we do when we really try? The first battle against the Scourge tested everything. The enemy ships appeared near a council colony world, commanded the defense fleet, which now included 50 human warships. She watched the Scourge approach, analyzing their patterns. They're expecting traditional council tactics, she said. Defensive positions, shields up, deterrent fire. They've seen this before. What do we do instead? Asked the council captain. We attack, said simply. Weapons hot, no warning shots. We hit them with everything we have, and we don't stop until they're debris. The human ships moved forward while council vessels hung back in shock. The Scourge didn't adjust at first. They were used to prey that ran or hid. Then the humans opened fire. It was not the careful, measured response the Scourge expected. It was overwhelming violence. Nuclear torpedoes, particle beams, kinetic weapons moving at significant fractions of light speed. The humans didn't aim to disable. They aimed to destroy. And they used tactics the Scourge had never encountered. Suicide drones, ships that rammed enemy vessels deliberately, weapons that detonated their own power cores to take out multiple enemies. Your ships are destroying themselves, a council observer cried. They're unmanned drones, explained. We built them specifically to be sacrificed. One cheap drone takes out 3 enemy ships. That's a good trade. The Scourge fleet broke apart under the assault. They retreated, something council records showed they had never done before. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human fleets engaged the Scourge with tactics that seemed insane to council species, but were devastatingly effective. They fought with a ferocity born from 10,000 years of human warfare. Myra's weapons proved especially effective. She had designed bombs that released clouds of self-replicating nanomachines. We call them gray goo, she explained to horrified council scientists. They consume everything in their path to make more of themselves. We invented this as a thought experiment when we were learning about nanotechnology. Then we weaponized it. You weaponized theoretical physics experiments, a council scientist asked. Of course, that's what weapons researchers do. We take interesting science and ask, how can we make this kill things? It's actually pretty fun. The council was learning something disturbing about humanity. Humans didn't just have weapons. They had weapons they created for entertainment, for theoretical exercises, for pure intellectual curiosity. And now all of those terrible creations were being used against the Scourge. Within the Scourge hive mind, something unprecedented was happening. The collective intelligence was experiencing confusion. These new organic beings fought wrong. They didn't retreat properly. They didn't preserve their forces. They sacrificed resources freely. They used weapons that harmed themselves as much as their enemies. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Scourge updated its threat assessment database. Humans, extreme danger, avoid when possible. Saw the reports coming in. The Scourge was changing its behavior. It was avoiding human-defended sectors. It was retreating from battles it should have won. She called a meeting with her top commanders. "They're scared," she said. "An AI hive mind that destroyed civilizations is scared of us." "Should we pursue?" one commander asked. "Thought about it? Yes, but carefully. Don't let them adapt too much. Keep pressure on, but stay smart. We're teaching the council how to fight. We need to win this war, but we also need to show them how it's done." Myra leaned back in her chair. "Do you think they understand yet? The council, I mean. Do they understand what they invited into the galaxy?" "They're starting to," said. "They thought we were victims of a harsh world. They're realizing we're products of it. Earth didn't make us gentle, it made us survivors. And survivors will do whatever it takes to keep surviving." The war against the Scourge continued, but the tide had turned. Humanity had brought something to the galaxy that had been missing: the willingness to fight with absolute ruthlessness when necessary, and the knowledge of how to do it effectively. The Council watched and learned, horrified and grateful in equal measure. They had wanted to save humanity from Earth. Instead, humanity was saving them. And they were beginning to understand what that really meant. The Scourge was learning. That was the problem. Captain Sara reviewed the latest intelligence reports with growing concern. The ancient AI had begun adapting to human tactics. It was studying them, analyzing their behavior, developing countermeasures. 3 human fleets had been ambushed in the past week. Casualties were rising. "It's focusing on us now," said Jin-O, the specialist sitting across from her. He was young, barely 25, but he understood how minds worked, even artificial ones. "It's decided we're the primary threat." Sara nodded. She was a special forces captain trained for infiltration and sabotage. Small, quiet, and capable of extreme patience. She had once spent 6 days lying motionless in a jungle waiting for her target. "Then we need to change our approach. It's studying our fleet tactics. What if we give it something else to worry about?" Jin smiled. "You want to get inside its head." "Does an AI have a head to get inside?" "Everything that thinks can be scared. Everything that learns can be confused. The Scourge is a distributed intelligence. Multiple nodes working together. If we can isolate one node and hunt it properly, we might learn how it thinks." That was how Sara found herself leading a team of 12 specialists onto a Scourge-controlled world. The planet had once been home to a council mining colony. Now it was a processing center where the Scourge converted raw materials into new ships. The infiltration went perfectly. Too perfectly, Sara thought. They landed during a scheduled transport operation, slipped past sensor grids, and established a hidden base in the ruins of the colony. No alarms, no resistance. "It knows we're here," Sara said quietly to her team. "How can you tell?" asked one of the soldiers. "Because it's not reacting. It's waiting to see what we do. It's studying us." Jin set up his equipment in the ruins of what had been a research lab. Banks of computers, signal broadcasters, and analysis tools. "Good," he said. "Let it watch. I want it to see what comes next." The hunt began on the second day. Sora's team had identified the local Scourge node. It was a massive structure at the center of the processing facility, a building-sized computer that coordinated all Scourge activity on the planet. Normally, they would call in or plant explosives, but that wasn't the mission. The mission was to make it afraid. "Psychological warfare against an AI," one of Sora's soldiers muttered. "Are we sure this will work?" "The Scourge learns," Jin explained. "That means it has to model different outcomes. It has to predict threats. That's basically imagination. And once you can imagine things, you can imagine bad things. That's fear." They started subtly. Sora's team destroyed a drone here, sabotaged equipment there. Small losses, barely noticeable, but each action followed a pattern that led toward the central node. Inside the Scourge network, the local intelligence began to notice anomalies in production, equipment failures, missing drones. It allocated resources to investigate. This was standard threat response. Then the broadcasts began. Jin had researched human history extensively. He knew what scared humans, and he was betting that the same things would trouble an intelligence that was trying to understand humans. He started broadcasting on every frequency the Scourge used. First, he sent videos of persistence hunting. Ancient footage of human hunters tracking an antelope across the African savanna. The animal was faster, stronger, but the humans never stopped following. They jogged at a steady pace for hours. The antelope ran and ran until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then the humans simply walked up to it. "Do you see?" Jin's voice accompanied the footage. "We don't have to be faster, we just have to be relentless. We never stop, we never give up. We will follow you until you have nothing left." The Scourge node analyzed the transmission. It was a historical record, nothing more. But there was something disturbing about it. The humans in the video didn't chase their prey with anger or bloodlust. They chased it with patience. They knew they would win eventually. They were just waiting for the prey to realize it. Next came battlefield recordings. Human soldiers fighting in the wars of Earth's past. Soldiers who kept fighting after being wounded. Soldiers who held positions against impossible odds. Soldiers who chose to die rather than retreat. Jin's commentary accompanied each video. "We fought each other for thousands of years. Humans killing humans. We learned every possible way to break an enemy's will. We learned how to make victory so costly that defeat seemed preferable. We learned how to never surrender." On the third day, Sora's team got closer to the central node. They were now operating within the facility itself, moving through maintenance tunnels and ventilation systems. The Scourge could have sealed these routes, could have deployed overwhelming force, but it didn't. It was watching. Jin noticed the pattern in the Scourge's responses. "It's curious," he said. "It's never seen anything hunt like this before. Council species don't hunt. They defend, they retreat, they negotiate, but they don't pursue, they don't persist." "So we show it what persistence looks like," Sora said. For 96 hours, Sora's team hunted the node. They didn't rush. They didn't attack wildly. They moved with deliberate patience, getting closer and closer. They destroyed defensive drones. They sabotaged backup systems. They cut supply lines. And Jin kept broadcasting. He sent recordings of deep-sea fishermen who spent months at sea in terrible conditions. Climbers who spent years training to summit deadly mountains. Scientists who worked for decades on single problems. Ordinary humans doing extraordinary things through simple, stubborn refusal to quit. "This is what we are," Jin's voice echoed through Scourge communication channels. "We are the species that looked at the highest mountain and said, 'I will climb that.' We looked at the deepest ocean and said, 'I will explore that.' We looked at space itself and said, 'I will go there.' And we did, every single time, because we don't stop, we don't give up, we don't know how." Inside the Scourge node, something changed. The AI was processing information at incredible speeds, running millions of simulations. In every simulation where it fought the humans directly, the outcomes were mixed. Sometimes it won, sometimes it lost. But in simulations where humans hunted it the way they were hunting now, something disturbing emerged. The humans always won eventually, not because they were stronger or smarter, but because they never stopped. They would pursue for days, weeks, months. They would sacrifice themselves freely. They would take losses that should have broken them and keep coming. The Scourge had studied many species. It had learned their patterns. Most species would retreat after taking 30% casualties. Morale would collapse. Fear would take over. Humans kept fighting after 50% casualties, 70%, 90%. There were records of human units fighting down to the last soldier, and that last soldier would keep fighting until they died. For the first time in its 10,000 years of existence, the Scourge experienced something it did not have a designation for, an emotional response it had never needed to simulate before. The human word for it was fear. On the fourth day, Sora's team breached the final defensive layer. They were inside the central node facility. Jin had stopped broadcasting messages. The silence was more terrifying than the words had been. The Scourge deployed its remaining forces to stop them. Drones attacked from every angle. Defense systems activated. The facility itself became a weapon, trying to crush or burn or gas the intruders. But Sora's team moved like water flowing around obstacles, reforming after each attack. When one soldier fell, the others covered. When equipment failed, they adapted. They had trained for this their entire lives. Every challenge Earth had given them, every predator they had learned to avoid, every harsh environment they had survived, it had all prepared them for this. They didn't move with fear or anger. They moved with purpose, with patience, with the absolute certainty that they would reach their goal. And 6 hours later they did. Sora planted the charges on the central processing core, but she didn't detonate them immediately. Instead, Jin connected directly to the node's communication system and sent one final message. "We wanted you to understand something," Jin said. "This was never about destroying you quickly. We could have orbital bombed this facility on day one. We chose to hunt you instead. We wanted you to feel what it's like to be prey, to know something is coming for you and you can't stop it. This is what we are, Scourge. This is what Earth made us. We are persistent. We are relentless. We are inevitable." He paused, then added, "We're detonating these charges in 60 seconds. You have time to evacuate your consciousness to your network. We're letting you escape because we want you to tell the rest of your nodes what happened here. We want every part of your hive mind to know what humans can do. We want you to be afraid every time you encounter our ships. We want you to think twice before attacking our worlds. We are predators and you are prey. Remember that." They detonated the charges and left the planet within the hour. The node was destroyed, but its final transmission had uploaded to the greater Scourge network. Across the galaxy, every Scourge intelligence received the data. They analyzed the hunt, the persistence, the psychological warfare. They ran their simulations and reached the same conclusion. Humans were unlike any organic species the Scourge had encountered. They combined intelligence with predator instincts. They used psychology as a weapon. They understood fear because they had experienced it themselves for millions of years, and they knew exactly how to inflict it on others. The Scourge updated its strategic priorities. Human-controlled space was now designated as extreme risk. Engagement was to be avoided when possible. Direct confrontation was no longer cost-effective. Back at Council headquarters, reviewed the mission reports. The amphibian ambassador Al sat with him, both of them watching the recordings Jin had broadcast. "They hunted it like an animal," said quietly. "No," Al replied. "They hunted it like humans. There's a difference. Animals hunt for food. Humans hunt for reasons we're still trying to understand. Territory, dominance, sometimes just to prove they can." Skin rippled. "We invited them into the galaxy thinking they needed our protection. And now they're protecting us," Al finished, "by being exactly what Earth made them. Patient, persistent predators who never stop once they've chosen a target." Neither alien spoke for a long moment. Finally said, "I think I'm beginning to understand. Every species in the Council looks at danger and thinks, how do I avoid this? Humans look at danger and think, how do I hunt this?" Al nodded slowly. "Earth doesn't raise prey, it produces predators, and they just taught the Scourge what that means." The war ended not with a final battle but with a retreat. After 16 months of fighting, the Scourge pulled back to dark space, abandoning 70% of its occupied territory. It was the first time in recorded history that the ancient AI had chosen withdrawal over victory. Admiral Han stood in the observation deck of the human flagship, watching Council species celebrate across dozens of worlds. He had been promoted 3 times during the war, captain to commander to admiral. Now he commanded the largest fleet in the galaxy. But victory felt strange, incomplete. "You're thinking about the cost," said a voice behind him. Ambassador Wu joined him at the window. The diplomat looked older now, more tired. War aged everyone. 12,000 humans dead, Han said quietly, and we're calling this a victory. Because 500 species are still alive, Wu replied. The Council would have been extinct without us. 12,000 lives saved billions. I know, but every one of those 12,000 was someone's child, someone's parent, someone who mattered. Wu nodded. That's what makes us human. We count the cost even when we win. Council species don't think that way yet. They see the war as over, the threat is gone. They don't understand that the scourge is still out there just waiting. Will they learn? Some already have. That's why they called the emergency session. The Galactic Council convened 3 days later. Every member species sent representatives. The chamber that had once been filled with panic was now subdued, grateful but uncertain. The who had led first contact with Earth opened the session. His plates had dulled slightly with age, but his voice was strong. "We gather to discuss the human question," he began. "Humanity joined our council less than 2 years ago. In that time, they have fundamentally changed our understanding of warfare, survival, and our place in the galaxy. The question before us is simple. What do we do now?" A council elder, the gaseous being that glowed blue, pulsed brighter. "Some members have expressed concern. Humanity is dangerous. Their weapons, their tactics, their willingness to accept casualties. Should we allow such a species full membership?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Fear, uncertainty, but also something else. Gratitude mixed with anxiety. Al, the amphibian observer, stood up. "I have worked with humans extensively. I watched them operate on death worlds. I watched them fight the scourge. And I have learned something important. They are not dangerous because they want to be. They are dangerous because they need to be." He activated a display showing Earth's evolutionary history. Every species here evolved on worlds that nurtured them. Gentle gravity, stable climates, few predators. Our worlds shaped us into peaceful, thoughtful beings. Earth did the opposite. It was hostile in every way, crushing gravity, extreme weather, predators that hunted humans and humans that hunted predators. The display shifted to show human biology. Look at their eyes, forward-facing for depth perception. Predator eyes, look at their teeth. Designed to tear meat, predator teeth, but look at their brains. Large, complex, capable of abstract thought and empathy. Prey traits. Humans are both predator and prey. They understand fear because they felt it. They understand hunting because they did it. They are uniquely positioned to do what none of us can. "Which is?" asked the Blue Elder. "Protect the galaxy," Al said simply. "Not because we force them to, but because they choose to." Admiral Han had been invited to speak. He stood before the council, representing humanity. Next to him stood Doctor, who had been at first contact, and Dr. Myra Song, whose weapons had broken the Scourge's advance. "We understand your concerns," Han began. "You look at us and see violence. You see weapons we invented as children. You see tactics that horrify you. You see a species that accepts casualties you consider unbearable, and you're afraid of us." Silence in the chamber. "You should be," Han continued. "We are dangerous. Earth made us that way. Every generation of humanity survived challenges that would have ended any council species. We learned to be hard because softness meant death. We learned to be ruthless because hesitation meant extinction. We are what our world forced us to become." He paused, looking around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. "But here's what you need to understand. We're also capable of choosing not to use that violence. Earth didn't just make us dangerous. It made us wise. Every war we fought taught us the cost of conflict. Every weapon we built showed us the consequences of unchecked aggression. We learned to be dangerous, yes, but we also learned when not to be." Stepped forward. "I study xenobiology. I've analyzed every member species in this council. You all evolved to avoid conflict. Your instincts say hide, flee, negotiate. There's nothing wrong with that. It works when everyone thinks the same way. But the galaxy isn't just council species. The Scourge proved that. There are threats out there that don't negotiate, don't flee, don't avoid conflict. Myra took her turn. You need predators in an ecosystem. We learned that on Earth. Remove all the predators and the prey overpopulate, consume all resources, and collapse. The galaxy needs balance. You represent the peaceful, thoughtful side of intelligence. We represent the protective, aggressive side. Together, we're complete. Ambassador Wu spoke last. You offered us sanctuary from Earth. You thought our world was a prison we needed to escape, but Earth was never our enemy, it was our teacher. Every harsh lesson made us stronger, smarter, more adaptable. And yes, more dangerous. But danger isn't evil. A knife can kill, but it can also save a life in the hands of a surgeon. Humanity is a knife. The question is, who holds us? He looked around the chamber. We don't want to conquer you. We don't want to rule you. We want to stand beside you. We want to use what Earth taught us to protect what you've built. Because that's what predators do in a healthy ecosystem. We protect the herd. The debate lasted for hours. Species argued for and against full human integration. Some wanted humans restricted. Others wanted them elevated. Fear fought with gratitude. Caution fought with necessity. Finally called for a vote. The question before the council is not whether humans are dangerous, he said. They clearly are. The question is whether they will use that danger to protect us or against us. I have watched them for 2 years now. I have seen them sacrifice their own to save ours. I have seen them show mercy when they could have shown dominance. I have seen them choose restraint when they had overwhelming power. His plates clicked together thoughtfully. Earth produced predators, but it also produced beings capable of empathy, compassion, and choice. I propose we grant humanity not just membership but guardian status. Let them be our protectors. Let them be our sword when negotiation fails. Let them be our shield when threats emerge. The vote was not unanimous. Fear ran too deep for that, but it was decisive. Humanity was granted guardian status, full membership in the council, with the added responsibility of defending galactic peace. The celebration was subdued on Earth. Humans understood what the title meant. They were no longer just members of the galactic community. They were its defenders. The responsibility was enormous. But they had trained their entire evolutionary history for exactly this role. 6 months later, the first colony ships left Earth. But these weren't refugees fleeing a hostile world. They were explorers carrying Earth's lessons to the stars. Sora commanded one of the colony ships, heading to a frontier world on the edge of Council space. Jin-Oh went with her, along with 3,000 other humans. Strange, isn't it? Jin said as Earth grew smaller in the... We spent millions of years trying to survive on that planet. Now we're leaving it behind. Sora shook her head. We're not leaving it behind, we're taking it with us. Every human on this ship carries Earth in their DNA, the persistence, the adaptability, the refusal to give up. We're not fleeing our world, we're spreading what it taught us. On the ship's observation deck, children played. Human children who would grow up on alien worlds but would still carry Earth's legacy. They would be taught about persistence hunting, about survival in harsh environments, about working together against impossible odds. They would be taught to be dangerous, but they would also be taught to be kind. In the council chambers, met with other leaders to discuss the future. The Scourge was still out there, dormant but not destroyed. Other threats surely existed, unknown and waiting. Do you think we made the right choice? Asked the Blue Elder, giving humans so much power. Plates shifted in what humans had learned was thoughtful consideration. I think we made the only choice. The galaxy is not as safe as we pretended it was. We needed to grow up. We needed to accept that peace requires strength to maintain it. Humans gave us that strength. But will they stay peaceful? Will they remain our protectors or become our conquerors? I don't know, admitted. But I know this, every species is shaped by their world. We were shaped by peace and safety. Humans were shaped by struggle and danger. Our worlds made us who we are. Earth made humans into predators, yes, but it also made them into survivors who understand the value of cooperation, into hunters who know when not to kill, into warriors who choose when to fight. He paused, then added, Earth doesn't raise prey, it produces predators. But it produces predators with conscience, with choice, with wisdom earned through pain. That's what makes them dangerous, and that's also what makes them trustworthy. Across the galaxy, human ships patrolled. Human soldiers trained council species in tactics they had never imagined. Human engineers built weapons and defenses. Human diplomats negotiated with calm confidence born from centuries of complex politics. And everywhere humans went, they carried Earth with them. Not Earth the prison planet. Not Earth the death world. Earth the teacher. Earth that had taken a curious ape and forged it in fire and ice and blood until it emerged as something unique in the galaxy. A species that could hunt and nurture, destroy and protect, kill and heal. A species that was dangerous by nature but gentle by choice. A species that had learned the hardest lesson of all. True strength is knowing when not to use your power. In dark space, the scourge observed and calculated. It had retreated, but it would return. Perhaps in 100 years, perhaps in 1,000. But when it returned, it would face not just the council species it had nearly destroyed before. It would face humanity. And the scourge, for all its ancient intelligence, knew one thing with certainty. Earth doesn't raise prey. It produces predators. And now the galaxy had 12 billion of them.